Hey, Joe Walsh here. Remind me, why did we put Republicans in charge of Congress? Can anybody tell me? We'll talk about it when Freedom returns at 5.
Because we didn't want Pelosi in charge, that's why. Dan and Amy, and as Mike Scott was reporting, we'll keep you updated as more information becomes available about this apparent terrorist attack in southwestern France. Man claiming to be acting on behalf of ISIS opened fire, took hostages in a supermarket. 2 reported dead, and now apparently it's just a standoff between police and this gunman.
Hostages have been released. So.
Yeah, the others, yeah. So anyway, keep you updated on that, as will Mike Scott. But now we turn our attention, going back to this debate I had with Donna Brazil last night. We talked a little bit about the Mueller investigation, and I got to tell you, I am growing so weary, even from people that I respect and I think that are honest brokers like Trey Gowdy, of just this pat line of saying, let Bob Mueller finish his investigation, and then, we'll say, yeah, okay, fine. Let him finish his investigation. Let him go wherever the truth leads and the facts dictate. Fine, I'm on board with that, have been on board at the beginning. But this can't be in perpetuity. This can't be independent of any oversight. If Rod Rosenstein is going to abdicate his oversight responsibilities at justice of the special counsel, then we have a problem. This isn't getting anywhere, as Andy McCarthy has written about persuasively. It'd be one thing if it was obvious he was working his way up the food chain to some place. As Byron York asked this week, if Manafort and Flynn didn't collude with the Russians, then just exactly who did? The idea that nobody disturbed Bob Mueller because he's working is a wave off for any sort of scrutiny or demand for response from the Mueller team about how this is proceeding and what's the horizon for its completion. I just find absurd. As I do some of the statements that have come out, like we talked about earlier this week, after John Brennan lost his lunch in the wake of Andy McCabe's firing at the FBI, firing off tweets in the direction of the president. Our friend David Harsanyi over at The Federalist, senior editor for TheFederalist.com, national syndicated columnist, also the author of the book First Freedom, a ride through America's enduring history with the gun from the revolution to today. His latest piece for The Federalist talks about the aforesaid former CIA director, and we're pleased to be joined by David Harsanyi now. Thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So John Brennan shouldn't be lecturing America. He should be the focus of a congressional inquiry, says you. Why is that?
Well, I mean, he lied to the American people about his role and the CIA's role in spying on the legislative branch of the United States government, which is an actual attack on democracy that we know happened. And he covered it up. He tried to have people fired. He lied when he was asked about it. Never really apologized to the American people for it or explained himself. And everyone moved on. But if he's going to inject himself and lecture everybody about our civic responsibilities and morality and all this stuff and collusion and be irresponsible and reckless about the things that he says, then I say that he should get in front of go under oath, get in front of a congressional panel and explain himself.
I second that motion.
Yeah, but he has such a platform to spew his thoughts. I mean, he's always on CNN, ABC, NBC, and he always looks so angry. Have you noticed that?
Maybe he is angry. I don't know. Yeah, he looks a little angry, and he's kind of reckless. The other day he was on, I think, Morning Joe, saying that asking questions, how people do that when they have conspiracy theories about what Putin has over Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Let's just think about that for a moment. He's saying that the United States president is being blackmailed by another country. That I know things have been crazy these days, but that's a serious charge, right? That's the most serious charge there is basically in politics, and yet he has no evidence to back that up. It's just him floating something that a lot of liberals do that so far we see zero evidence for.
Well, he is a former CIA director, so misinformation was one of the tricks of the trade, and perhaps it's not anger, it's guilt. There's a lot of, in this whole let Mueller do his job, let everybody do their job, let everybody go where the facts lead, let everybody ask the questions and get them answered. Okay, well, a book coming out by Michael Isikoff and David Korn suggests that Susan Rice gave a stand-down order on combating Russian meddling in the election last year, or I mean in 2016. And so let's ask questions about Samantha Power and Susan Rice and Obama administration officials, including John Brennan, as you suggest, his appearance before a congressional inquiry. And let's find out who's lying. Is it Andy McCabe or Jim Comey when one says no, the director says the director didn't authorize anybody to leak anything, and Andy McCabe said I leak things with the authorization of the director. Let's get answers to all those questions and some context filled in around some of those players. What do you say?
Right, and Clapper as well. I mean, the idea, this is their obsession with this Russia collusion thing has blown up in their faces in a way. I mean, we see what really was going on, and there are a lot of people who are in power who have not been asked to, they haven't answered any questions about what their roles were in these things. And moreover, as you were mentioning, Mueller, I am with you. Let the investigation go on. Let's see what he has and all of that. But the idea now that Republicans should pass a bill that strips the president of his power to fire those who work under him. We want to make Mueller the most powerful man in America, a prosecutor with no oversight, the only man in America who will have zero oversight. I just feel like it's just spinning out of control and just a little bit crazy.
And so one of the discussion points, I mentioned this debate last night that I had with Donna Brazile, where we actually had agreement, although for slightly different reasons, was this idea of a second special counsel to investigate, potential abuses at the senior level in the FBI and so forth. Should we have a special counsel for the special counsel or competing special counsels? And I thought that was a bad idea. I think there are the mechanisms to hold people accountable if there's a desire to, and Donna Brazile kind of sort of agreed with me.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is what Congress is supposed to be doing. There are ways to investigate abuse. Special counsels, I mean, to me, they seem like they really have no focus. They're always just sort of, when you give someone, a prosecutor, especially that kind of power and latitude, I think that they, in some way, abuse it. I'm not saying it's an abuse of power. I'm not saying they can't do it. I just think it leads to things that had nothing to do with the initial inquiry, and that's problematic.
What about Ambassador Samantha Power? You wrote in your article that she said it isn't a good idea to piss off John Brennan. Why not?
Which essentially she's saying that John Brennan's the sort of guy you would take the things that he knows, that he learned while he was in power and use it against, for political purposes. I mean, isn't that what she's admitting? Why shouldn't I be able to piss off John Brennan? Who's John Brennan? He was just supposedly a public servant who was, doing his job. It's kind of amazing that these people who, I think I don't know how many people, I don't know how involved she was in what was going on before the election, but it's just amazing how shameless they are when they tweet something like that.
Now, on the other side, President Trump, one of his top lawyers, John Dowd, resigned yesterday. The president made another overture of his desire to sit down and talk to Bob Mueller, which he's been advised against by John Dowd and a lot of other people. And you just wonder, I suppose, what advice he's going to listen to, or if he's going to be his own attorney. And there's something about has a fool for a client in there somewhere. But the idea of Trump testifying under oath to Bob Mueller and not just responding through his attorney to written questions, or getting the Hillary Clinton treatment where he's willing to answer questions, but it's not going to be under oath.
Well, I mean, I think we all know that you shouldn't sit down with the FBI or with the prosecutor or with anyone else, if you don't have to answer questions.
Right.
Because they're going to ask you questions and you're going to have to answer them truthfully, or you're going to be in big trouble. I think Bill Clinton learned that, and others have learned that as well. Listen, I don't know why he would do that. I don't think he listens to anyone but himself. I think he thinks he's the smartest guy in the room, and he's not quite often. I think it would be a huge mistake for him to do that.
Yeah, but he probably
not
has
because
been.
I think he colluded or anything. I
No.
just think it's a bad idea anyway.
Yeah, but he probably has been deposed more than any other president. I mean, he's been
Well,
through thousands of
yeah.
lawsuits and thousands
So
of
those
depositions.
are civil cases. This is a bit different. And the one thing though, David, is, do you think he thinks this is political optics, and I'm not going to give the appearance that I'm afraid of Mueller or that I'm hiding something, and so for optics reasons I need to have a sit down with Mueller?
Yeah, I think I'm sure it's part of it. And, he's not the sort of guy who feels like he has to live by the things that he said, a few days ago. So I'm sure he can change his mind whenever he feels like it. I also think that there's the possibility that he doesn't think that he did anything wrong, and maybe that he didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
And the thing that, everyone's always gets mad and the media goes bananas whenever he sort of fights back. But, I mean, this has been going on for a long time. I'm not sure what he's expected to do. I would want to fight back as well if I didn't do anything and people kept saying I was, a stooge for Vladimir Putin. But sitting down with a prosecutor, I just think it's a really bad idea.
Well, right. I mean, with the way that Bob Mueller is charging people, Trump could lie about his golf handicap, and be indicted.
That's a trap. I mean, they could, in some sense, they could get you if they want you. No matter what, on anything. So it seems, it doesn't seem like a good idea, but it doesn't seem like he really wants to if a lawyer tells him something he doesn't want to hear, he just fires him. So, I don't think it's a good, I don't think he's listening to anyone but himself. So I hope, we'll see.
All right. He is David Harsanyi, nationally syndicated columnist, senior editor for TheFederalist.com, and author of the book First Freedom, A Ride Through America's Enduring History with the Gun. His latest piece at TheFederalist.com. John Brennan shouldn't be lecturing America. He should be the focus of a congressional inquiry. David, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Anytime. Thank you.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is the morning.